Hello and welcome to another episode of the Parenting Teens podcast. This week we're going to talk about mindfulness. And last time I talked about, now I've just edited the video and I've already forgotten what I talked about. That's right, when teenagers put up barriers to needing help. And I certainly know as a parent that all of the years, in fact, the minimum 12 years that my son was going through suicidal depression, how that affected me as a parent, how it made me feel stressed and anxious every day that he was in those dark places, that I was worried about him and what he was going through. And I also want you to be aware that as a parent, there is a great need for self-care as well. And self-love is actually, and self-care is another topic I think I'm going to bring in next week, because it's something else that pays forward to parenting teens, to teenagers when we are parenting. So today we're going to talk about mindfulness as one of the first strategies and the most beneficial that I found for self-care. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is about being able to recognize, very much like we talk about children and teenagers when they're given strategies, and I mentioned this last week, like traffic light systems, to stop, to breathe, and to think about the next action we're going to take. Now, as adults, a traffic light system may be a little basic for what we need, and it may sound very understandable for a child at a younger age, even 7, 8, 9, 10, they can use that. But let's look at something a little bit more mature, because we deserve some peace and calm and quiet and comfort in ourselves as well. And mindfulness was one that definitely helped me get through many stressful days. And not only that, there are so many ways in which we can use mindfulness that are beneficial. So one of the first things I want you to be aware of before we go into any mindfulness strategies is that whatever happens in your world, whatever happens, you only ever experience it through your 5 senses. So your stress, your anxiety, your emotions, your happiness, your joy, your love, everything in your life is things that you feel because of what you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. If you don't have any of those, how else can you experience the world around you? And without those experiences, what is there left to have feelings and emotions about? So that is why today we are going to talk about mindfulness, because this is a much more sophisticated version of the traffic light system, where we take a moment to stop all that overwhelm that's coming into us through our senses, bring ourselves back to the center of our own world, but without having to necessarily pray. And if that is something you do and you want to incorporate that, that is amazing. And there are other ways we can take similar strategies into this, like manifestation and affirmations. And there's other ways to bring that in. But we're going to look at how we can use the 5 senses to bring about mindfulness. And one of the first things I want to do is to think about whatever is going on in your world, is you've sensed it. Now, whether it is past, present, or future, that makes a difference as to whether you're anxious because of something you remember that's happened before, that could happen again in the future, that you're worried about now. And you end up in this anxiety loop about predicting what's going to happen based on what has happened, and you're worrying about it now, even though it's not happening right now. Now, yes, when you have a child who has attempted to commit suicide in the past and you are seeing their behaviors escalate again in the present, and you're worried about what's coming up in the future or the very near future for their safety, yes, there is a very, very good reason for anxiety. but that's their anxiety, and we want to bring them back to a calm space as well. So learning this for you could also help you to teach them the art of mindfulness and bringing all of that overwhelm that they're feeling back to the center by encouraging them to do mindfulness with you. But you cannot teach something you have not learned first. And you also cannot tell somebody else to go and sit somewhere and come back to a mindful place when you're doing it from a point of stress, anxiety, frustration, giving orders. And if you're in an energetic place, telling somebody else to calm down, you cannot control their emotions in that dominant energy. What we need to do as parents is bring ourselves to the calm place first. Now, I have talked in the past about the safe space for talking and about maintaining your own integrity through these conversations as well. And certainly when you want to be going into that safe space for talking, if you haven't seen that, go back and check that episode out. But certainly to go into that space, mindfulness is a really, really good practice to tag onto the concept of a safe space for talking. So you can recenter yourself very quickly, whatever's happening in your life. You could be stressed about getting the dinner, the washing going out, the dog needs to be walking, whatever, and your teenager's going, Mum, I need a moment to speak. And your energy is up here, right? To bring yourself into that safe space for talking, you need to be calm. And I've always told my children this: you cannot order other children or other people into a calm space or a safe space. We have to go there first and then invite them in. So we have to go back to center and then invite them to join us in that calm, safe space for talking. So that's another really good reason for learning this strategy. Even for me doing these podcasts, I guarantee you, my energy normally is up here and I'm scatty and I'm all over the place. I have ADHD. Even as a parent, I did not know that, but I knew that my energy on a day-to-day basis is very high. I can ramble, I can talk fast. I've got a million thoughts an hour going on in my head. But the minute my children wanted to talk, I'd come to a calm space and listen. And as a speaker, I have to do the same thing, because I can't expect you to join me in a meaningful, engaging conversation, even though I'm speaking and you're listening. I can't expect that if I'm in the wrong energy place. So I even have to use mindfulness about myself, my voice, my interactions on screen, and the words, the pace that I'm speaking. I have to use all of this when I'm talking to you, even through the camera. So how can you use mindfulness on a day-to-day basis in your life to bring you the same peace, calm, and clarity that you can then use to have calm, meaningful, engaging conversations with your teenagers and young adults? So remember I said about the 5 senses. We only experience everything through those 5 senses, and whatever we are remembering and reacting to from the past or predicting from the future is still all based on those 5 senses. Now, I do have a course on my website that covers the 10 steps to beginning your mindfulness journey, and I will put a link to that below. But for today, I'm going to give you just a few strategies to help you with this process. Now, first of all, it is about letting go of everything out there that is distracting you. Whether it is the cooking, the washing, the ironing, letting the dog out, the doorbell ringing, whatever, this can literally take a second, is to mentally let it all go and just focus on you right now, where you are. It will take me longer to talk through it than it can take you to do it. You can do it in a second. You can do it in a minute. You could spend an hour or all day doing it, but most people have given up by then and go on and do the next thing because they're ready for it. But the first one is to, whatever's going on, just let it go and focus on where you are sitting or standing right now. And from there, whatever is going on, you make a decision to do one thing. And if in that moment that is talking to your teenager, what is going to enable you to do that right now? It might mean turning off the cooker, opening the door and letting the dog in the garden, on the way to the dining table and saying, right, let's go and sit down and talk. But it's taking that moment to let it all go, prioritize in your mind how you're going to make this happen, and then getting there. But first of all, let's look at the mindfulness for you. So it's about bringing yourself to the here and the now. Now, how can we use those 5 senses to do that? The first one is just being present and feeling in yourself how you're standing. Taking a breath. And this is all physical sensation right now. So you're bringing yourself away from all the thoughts into the physical body. All right, how am I standing? Stand still, relax the shoulders. Or sitting, if you are sitting, on the tube train, at home, in the office, whatever you're doing. But let's start by sitting still. Or standing in the moment. And being aware physically of how it feels right in this moment to be you. And if there's any tension, take a deep breath and let the tension go. That is the first step. It's just coming back to being you. Now, if there's nothing else going on right now, and you're in a safe space for just you to be mindful, let's take that to the next level. Now you're back to being just you and enjoying being you. What can you see around you? Maybe pick a color or a shape or a texture that pleases your eye and you pay attention to it. It could be some food or a coffee in front of you. It could be a tree or a bird out of the window. It could be a picture on a wall or a candle burning on the mantelpiece. It could be some flowers in a vase. But find something in the space around you that pleases you. And pay attention to it, appreciate it, and enjoy it. This is how we can use our sight, what we see, for a moment of mindfulness. Now, while you're taking that in, expand that mindfulness to your hearing. In your surroundings, there is no right or wrong to what you hear, but it's about recognizing that where you are standing, you are safe. At least I hope you're safe. If not, make sure you are. So where you are standing, while you are looking and using your eyes, start to take in what you can hear. Is it the fireplace crackling if you have one? You're very fortunate these days if you do. Is it the kettle boiling? Because while the kettle's boiling, that's a great time to stand and be mindful for a moment. Is it the birds singing in the garden? Can you hear traffic going past? And that's okay too. Because remember, you're in a safe space and the traffic is not coming through right where you are right now. Unless you're somewhere in a busy place and you want a mindful moment, be aware maybe that the traffic is passing, but you are safe stood back on the pavement. Maybe you are in a vehicle and you are safe in the vehicle. You have your seatbelt on. Maybe the radio is on, maybe the window's wound down if the weather's nice. Now it's spring again and the air is beautiful and you can hear the rushing of the air. But whatever you can hear, it is okay. and be aware that you are safe being you. The next one is, what can you smell? Again, if you're at home, if the kettle is boiling and you're pouring a cup of coffee, or you've just poured it, can you smell the coffee? If you have flowers in a vase or a scented candle, or the door is open and you can smell the fresh air coming through, or a window, how does it feel to be able to just appreciate that for a moment? Now, I know this has taken a while for me to talk through, but bearing in mind that as you learn these strategies, you can do them all virtually instantaneously. So you can be pouring a coffee, smelling it, seeing what's around you, or seeing the coffee, the bubbles pour around the cup, listening to the birds in the garden and the traffic going past. You can do that all at the same time by going, right, center, see, hear, smell, and take it all in quite quickly. But at the same time, you can expand this out to take longer to really feel those emotions and thoughts and feelings calm down. The next one is taste. Now, there's not always an opportunity to use taste in mindfulness, but at the same time, it can also be used very easily at times like coffee breaks, lunch times, and meals, because that is the very opportunity where you have food and drink in front of you and can incorporate that into a mindful process. So if you're in a busy job, for example, but you know you're going to have to go home to a hectic family environment, then take time to use that mindfulness in your lunch break, or encourage the family to enjoy mindfulness at meal times. And by sitting, taking in the taste, the texture, the temperature, and all of the wonderful aromas that go with the food, with every mouthful that you eat, actually reduces the cortisol of the stress of the day while you are eating. And cortisol increases weight gain as well. So if you're struggling with weight, taking mindfulness into the eating practice is also really beneficial. But when you associate eating with stress, that's not good for the body either, for digestion, even for teenagers and young adults. Eating stressed is not good for the body or the mind. So even for them to be able to sit and eat together mindfully, or like I said, on your own, to take that moment to have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And if you've got a herbal tea, this is even better. If you have herbs in the garden and can go and pick them, mindfully walking around the garden, then put them in a cup and pour the water on and drink it and go through the whole process mindfully, that is a real bonus. But if it's a tea bag that you pop in, or loose leaf tea, or you buy a cup of herbal tea in a coffee shop or a tea shop, again, it's all an absolute bonus to sit and enjoy the flavour and the aroma while taking in the sights and the sounds around you. And you can do this in so many ways, even unwrapping and eating a sweet by slowing down the process. And instead of just like, oh, unwrap it, shove it in, and it's gone and you're just barely aware of it, slow the process down of choosing it, studying the wrapper, seeing all the shiny, crinkly parts, actually hearing the sounds as you unwrap it, and noticing the shapes, the colours, and the aromas that come from the sweet before you even put it in your mouth. And then the flavour, the texture, how the texture changes as you suck on the sweet or you bite into it. Is it crunchy like a mint, or is it soft and chewy like a toffee? And enjoy that sweet for as long as possible. That's mindfulness. And again, that's something we can encourage children and teenagers to do. Not that I'm encouraging everybody to eat lots of sweets, but we know they do. They might even be chewing gum. And it's all a healthy way to enjoy and bring the stresses of the world into a more outer space and bringing that feeling of being centered. And when you feel centered, here's the big benefit. Your brain stops overthinking everything else that's going on. And when you center yourself and let go of all of those other thought processes, very often, all the things that you've been stressed about and trying to push through to achieve and feeling like you're hitting barriers and you're not going anywhere. But when you center in on yourself and stop thinking, then very often that is when the answers come to you. Now, I've done this so many times over the years when I've been stressed and been pushing, picking off deadlines and pushing to get the next thing done. And it's the moment that I actually go, oh. And I sit and look around me without thinking about all of that. And I focus on what I can see, hear, smell, taste, and how the last one is feel as well. How I feel sitting in the chair I'm in. How is my posture or how I'm standing? I sometimes do it even when I'm walking, but it's that feeling. How is the chair feel supporting you? If you have arms on the chair, how do they feel under your hands? Are your legs supported? How does it feel with your feet on the floor? Is your neck relaxed and supporting your head efficiently? Like every part of your body, work your way up and down as slowly or as quickly as you need, and just be aware of the sensation of your body. Back to the beginning. So we start by going, right, center, I'm in my body, how does it feel? Work through all of the other senses, and then come back to how do you feel in your body now? And when you are more relaxed and centered and mindful, you are in a far better place to be having peaceful, meaningful, helpful, engaging conversations where no matter what your teenager or young adult is going through, and no matter what they want to talk about, you will now be in a better place to receive that conversation without triggering, without reacting, without judging, without bias. And the simple act of mindfulness creates that peace and calm in you in a way that you can then pay it forward through that conversation with them. Now, yes, there's also times when at the end of the day, it's not been a great day and they've gone off to bed and they're stressed and they're anxious and they're grumpy, and you will still get those days as they learn to manage their emotions. Watch other episodes of my podcast for that. And also check out my online course for I did say about creating a safe space for talking to teens. There's an online course for that, as well as an online course for the 10 steps to beginning mindfulness. But there's also the course for the emotional cycle diagram, the free one. You can do that course totally for free. You just need to go and register your details in and then follow through the course and get used to how to use the course where on my website before signing up for the others, if you prefer to do it that way. But this is all about how to do that. And when they've still had a bad day and have gone to bed and you're still stressed dealing with them, then you can also use these mindfulness strategies for winding down with music, with candles, with a warm bath, with aromatherapy, maybe sitting snuggled up under a blanket, whatever you need to do to bring yourself back to center and let that go until the next day. Don't carry it to bed. Don't overthink it, and wake up and start with a fresh day tomorrow. Because when you sleep better, then tomorrow you handle things better as well. So using mindfulness is a great way to wind down. It's also a great thing to use to go to sleep mindfully as well, whether it is having some essential oil under the pillow, having a low light on so that the light you see is not bright and alertive, have a calming light. calm music, whether it's something vibrational music or something soft, something that helps you unwind. So there's the sight, the sound, the smell there. And then there's also the physical sensation of being in bed. Are you comfortable? Are you in contact with the mattress? And that's the one where we do the mindfulness body scan technique, where you literally either start at the feet or start at the head and work your way through every muscle and limb in the body to make contact with the mattress. And as you take each breath and relax, you sink into the mattress until you are 100% comfortable, or as comfortable as you can be, and sink nicely into sleep. So I'm going to wind it up there for today and say thank you for listening in about mindfulness. If there's anything else you want to know about this, please do let me know. Ask me questions in the text below, in the chat, or pop me a message through my website and contact me on Facebook. I'll put the link to my Facebook group as well. It's a fairly small group at the moment. It's fairly new, even though this channel's been going a while. I've only recently started the Facebook group. So come and join me in there as well and talk. We can talk and ask questions about parenting teens. You may also be somebody who's teaching or supporting young adults in the workplace. But from the point of view of this podcast, it's about the parenting teenagers that I am really keen to support, because I'm aware how my actions, my behaviors, my thought processes not only supported my teenagers, but how they could also impact them when I wasn't in the best place myself. And I was also very aware of how when I could get things right in me, and I could take care of my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings, and I could sit and have those really calm conversations with them, how much that benefits them too. Now, as a parent, we're not just talking about how that benefits them now with the problem they're going through now, because my children are in their 30s now, and they still have those moments where they are facing the stress of parenting young children who are already behaving like teenagers before the ages of 5 and 10. You know, children are always emotionally volatile, and that impacts the parents, even when the children are highly energetic as well, or very irritated, overwhelmed, emotional, depending on what's going on at school. And my children still sometimes like me to sit down with them and have that safe space conversation where we sit one-to-one over a cup of tea or coffee, or herbal tea, whatever we do. Sometimes we go for a walk, a short walk for me, but we go for a walk and we talk in that safe space. And that helps them to cope with their parenting skills. So even as a grandparent, this is a skill that will still pay forward dividends when you can do this to keep yourself calm so that you can be in the best place to support your children. And even when your children later down the line may become or already are grandparents themselves, I always put the focus on being a good parent so that I can teach my children how to be good parents to their children. So thank you for listening in today. Please do like, subscribe, comment, and share the life out of this, because that's the best way we are going to change the culture for breaking the cycle for our teenagers and young adults. And in particular, when we have children with neurodiversity, and that is becoming so much more prevalent these days with the awareness of it. And then there's all the challenges with being labelled, etc. That's another conversation for another day. But for now, let's share the life out of this and help people find calm, help parents to find less stress in their life, create more peace, create the calm. And then we look at inviting those teenagers and young adults in to have all those other engaging conversations that are going to help them move into their adult life in a more peaceful state as well. So I'll see you again next week. Thank you for watching the Parenting Teens podcast today. Bye-bye.